Sorry, my bird. Can't tell her to be quiet.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to take attendance, first of all. So Sandy, I see Sandy. And Dan, I see Dan. And Heather, I see Heather. And Christine, I see Christine. So everyone's in attendance. Does anyone have any written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest? Councillor Cross.
No, I don't.
Councillor Maxwell?
No, I don't.
Councillor Olmsted?
No.
And Councillor Shippen?
No.
Okay, great. Next item on the agenda is petitions and delegations, and we have none. Next item after that is reports from municipal officers, of which we have none. After that, number 5, reports from the committees, of which we have none. Next item is number 6, action letters. So under A, we're going to continue with the process of developing a municipal strategic plan. The objectives of the meeting, or the objectives for this meeting, are for council to determine goals and action plans with the help of the staff. And under that, I is a report from the clerk treasurer, re potential goals. Do you have that, Cindy? Okay, so these were included in our package, council package. A lot of good information in here. Might as well start in the first one, I guess. Taking a look at what's everyone's thoughts on that. Okay, so I was thinking the first one was Bealsville mileage, but okay.
In my report, I just said, please see the report from the landfill manager. That's why I put the landfill manager report
okay,
up.
That's that then. There was some complicated stuff in here, about the Blue Box program and other items. Everyone, I assume, had a chance to look at it. So in looking at that, it seems like there's not going to be anything really available to us until April 2025. So we're going to have to manage that until that time. There are going to be some costs to us in the future. So if everyone had a chance to read it, so I'll ask Sandy, do you have any thoughts on it, or anything you didn't like about it, or things you did like, or your recommendation?
I know that we looked into the single streaming, and it seems to be way more expensive than what we're doing now. I think we can tighten up a bit at the landfill and make it more efficient with how we bring stuff in. I mean, I think we should definitely be putting money aside for the closure and preparing. I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen until April. So I feel that we prepare for, you know, putting money aside and doing what we can to lessen our landfill's lifespan. Not lessen, make it longer. and you know, if we prepare for the worst and it, you know, it comes back in April that we, you know, things aren't as bad, then we could, you know, use the money for something else. But I don't see any other alternatives besides becoming a little bit more rigid with what goes into the landfill, what goes over the side, possibly moving, you know, the building, or having a gate where people don't just go and drive all the way to the back and dump whatever they want to dump. I think it should be inspected. That would be, you know, something that would be worked out with the landfill attendants. That's all I really have.
There was some information there about costs, and the recommendation was to continue, but the way we have it now. Councillor Maxwell, any comments from you?
I think that it was a good report. Lots of information there. To me, I think that the single stream recycling is not going to work in our situation. It just seems too expensive. But I think we still can divert a lot of items going over the edge. So when you look at the edge, it does have a lot of things that could be recycled or are diverted. The idea of changing up I know that change doesn't always go over well, but changing up the way we do things at the landfill, it's been operating very good, and we have a good system there. But we could probably do it a little bit. I think we get another 10 or 20% efficiency out of it if we set up things a bit differently. I also would like to work towards maybe having some type of building there where the working conditions aren't as bad, where people are not outside. Maybe a steel building or a Quonset style that I'm not sure we're allowed because of the land being so on top of a landfill. I don't know what's allowed to be built there because of the condition of the ground. It's probably unstable for a building, but I think we could maybe work towards a plan that has a redesigning of the area. I like the idea of checking in first before you go and get rid of your stuff rather than checking in last. I mean, you seem to go and get rid of all your stuff, and on your way out, you get your card punched and you throw your recyclables in. It was the other way around, where someone looked at your load first and maybe said, okay, this goes there, gave it a little bit of direction. Just for example, when I was there on Saturday, there was a load of wood that went over the edge, some pine branches and some huge logs that were about 8 or 10 inches big, some pieces of wood that were cut up, and I had a chat with Pauline that day just because I was wanting to know like her point of view on like how things, what she needed to be, how she would improve it, because she's front line, she really knows what's going on. And I said, well, what about the wood that's over there? And she said, well, that was just a mixed load, it wasn't sorted, so everything went over because the load was unsorted. So maybe we have to stop the loads from being unsorted. Now I know we did pass a bylaw during COVID saying that we took away the bylaw, I can't remember what it was, but that prevented things from going over the edge. We kind of put that on hold until COVID was over, but maybe time to bring that back soon. But, so that it's against our policy to put divertible over the edge. I think we could do, I think we're doing a really good job as is, but I think we could improve a little bit and make it easier for our employees, make it more comfortable, and make it easier for them, because I know it is a management, it's hard running around watching everything there. And when I was there on Saturday, they had 3 employees, 2 students that were sorting. I think they've gone back to sorting. Sounds like it. I would have been nice to have been informed as council that had happened, but I think they're back to sorting the garbage now, and that's a big deal with the residents. Pauline was telling me that when they stopped sorting, a lot of people stopped recycling. And she said now she's been talking to people and they've started recycling again now that they have some help with sorting. The sorting's a big deal, and maybe not so much single stream recycling. That's basically what it is when we drop off a bag like that. It's single stream because it's going into one bag and they're sorting it at the landfill. It's sort of like a single stream system. Let me see now. I lose my train of thought these days. So I think if we had another system with a building there, and maybe it has to be designed. I don't have the complete answer yet, and maybe a more efficient compactor that compacts the stuff that is going over the edge. So stuff like styrofoam gets squashed into a pancake, I'm not talking about just a truck that compresses 50%, but something that compresses like 90%. So it really squashes it down, bales it up, and put those bales over the bank or just stack them neatly and cover them. You know, we might be able to extend our landfill, and then give us, by doing that, we not put as much money aside, and we can give our residents a tax break. So it's beneficial for us to look at what we can do there. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. All right. Councillor Olmsted. Any
I agree
ideas?
with both of them. Yeah, easy fix. Just have the entrance backwards. So instead of going in and dumping out whatever they want, have the entrance bypassed to the exit, so that we can have some supervision of what's going over the edge. That was really a good report. Thank you, Jacobs, very much. But that's my quick fix solution for the dump right now. And I agree with Councillor Cross and Maxwell.
Thank you. Councillor Shipham?
Yeah, I think we would be better suited if we had the employees like checking to see what the garbage is before it gets dumped over the edge. I don't know if maybe we should be going back to clear bags so that it's easier to verify what's in the bag before, because then you don't have to open every bag and smell whatever. You can just kind of look at it and go, okay, that one can go over there, that one can go over there. And it'd be a faster sorting for everybody. And I just think that having the attendant sort is taking away from them actually looking at what's coming into the landfill, because they're too busy sorting. So, I mean, I think some of the residents need to take it upon themselves as well. Like it's their landfill as well to sort some of their blue box stuff. I mean, it's not that hard to put all your bottles in one thing and your cans in another. So but that's my thinking, but I agree with both Dan and Sandy and Heather.
All right. Okay, so I agree that we should be looking at what's going over the edge before it goes over the edge. We did talk about clear bags at maybe 2 meetings ago. I'm not quite sure. I know there's a lot of things that go over that aren't supposed to. We're going to have to find a way, determine a way to have our residents engaged and want to do that. I think our landfill has like 35 years left in it at the current rate. And if you look at our residents, okay, who, I don't know what our average age is, but say 50, okay, they're all going to be past when the landfill gets to its maturity. So we have to encourage them to do something. We have to have a way to do that so that the landfill is still there for future generations. Yeah, I think Dan is kind of on the right track. It was suggested before that the compactor didn't compact enough. It's better than what we had a number of years ago when we had a skidder running around the landfill site busting bags, but it's not as good as it can be. And the bales is a very good idea. I don't know what that would cost us, so that'll be another investment in a different type of compact truck. I don't know how that even works. But from what I think I understood from everyone was that we have to be more vigilant, and maybe we should be looking at the material on the way in rather than, saying thank you on the way out. Some people might not like it, but we have to think about the future of the landfill, and I think we have to do that, right? And then as far as the sorting, I think there's still going to be some sorting because we have those bins there we have to fill. But if the bags are sorted before we get them, it's going to make it a lot easier for the students, right, or whoever's working that day. So I think what everybody's saying that they kind of like. Okay, Heather, I see you got your hand up there.
Yeah, I think that perhaps a very cheap way is saying all of us take turns and say meet the counselor day. So we can explain that we only have this many years left. Once they get explained to that we only have 30 years left, I think that people will be more diligent, right? So if we all took a turn saying, this is how much it costs, this is what's happening, and or what's going to happen, so we can all take a turn. I wouldn't mind at all.
What do you mean?
So going there on Saturday saying, so this is how much our dump costs. And if we close the dump, this is going to cost us millions of dollars. I think if we educate people and say, we can be better. So we reverse the process. Instead of dumping off whatever we want, go to the exit. That becomes the entrance. And Pauline just asked, or whoever, sorry, we just ask, what's there? And okay, so tires go here, tires go there, garbage goes there, recycling goes there. And then we can, back it up with our financial statements. Easy fix. I think ignorance is what's driving this. That's it.
Okay. Christine.
I think we can do what Heather's suggesting in the newsletter. I don't know that we need to go and be there, because I'm sure that we will get inundated with other issues besides the landfill. I also think that I lost my train of thought. Where did it go? It's gone. Okay, maybe it'll come back.
That happens.
Too much in our head. I think we could do a signage at the landfill site that would accomplish what Heather has suggested, and I think what Christine is suggesting by the newsletter. With the signage at the land site up and in your face, it's there every time. Okay, you're going to see it. I think that would be a better way to go than put it in a flyer, because the flyer comes, some people look at it, some people don't, some garbage, right? And then it goes to the landfill, and instead of going into recycling, it gets thrown over the bank, right? So let's have a sign at the landfill with a little bit of an explanation on that cost and what it costs us not to recycle. All right. Councillor Maxwell.
I really like how this idea of just reversing the flow going into the landfill. That would fix the problem. Like the initial, that would be one step that we could take initially that would help deal with the inspection of what's in the truck. I don't know, I'm not so much interested in, I don't think they have time to go through every bag, but they look into your pickup or your trailer, whatever you have, and they see what's in there and they can kind of tell what's garbage, what's not. I don't know if we have to enforce the clear bags so much. I mean, you can try, but it's hard to force people to buy clear bags. I mean, they just forget. It'll probably years before we get them trained to do that, if that's the decision we tried to do. Like one thing I didn't know for the longest time is cans and bottles are the same. Plastic and cans, they go together in the same bag. I was separating them for the longest time, and I'm a counselor, I should know that, even after doing that flyer. And I get there and they said, you just dumped in the same bin. I said, yeah, they go together. I didn't know that. Plastics and pop cans go together. A lot of people sort those, separate them. But I know this is talking sort of immediate terms, but I think with strategic planning, we have to look at the longer picture too, I guess, and how we want to develop. So I think we're talking a little bit too short term here. maybe we need to look at. I still see the idea of a building, some type of building there, and the other area that really diverts a lot of garbage is the we call it the Calvin Mall, or the recycle area. But the building that's there right now, although it protects it from the water, a lot of stuff gets damaged in there by water and animals going in there and pooping on it, and like things like couches that don't last very well in there. And it seems to be always stuff gets pretty covered in dirt pretty fast, just with the wind blowing water in and stuff. So that area, maybe that could be a bit more enclosed, or that could be part of the building. If we had a building where one side is used for sorting, the other side could be where the exchange area is, or the, I don't know what you call it, the repurposing, or the kind of the garage sale place. I've taken a lot of things out of there which got diverted. I can't help but look in there. Come home with something every week and come home with more than I leave with sometimes. That's it.
Christine, did your thought come back?
Yeah, because I was just like, we have our list of stuff on our cards that like you pay this much for all the different types of garbage. So it's not like people wouldn't be able to drop off their stuff. They just have to pay for it now, right? Like, I mean, we're not really in the business of losing money. So, you know, we're trying to find a way to save money and save the landfill. So the more we can generate with fees, if people want to throw that stuff out, that's fine, but it's going to cost you to throw it out now. Yeah, it doesn't make, and for Dan's comment too about the garbage bags, I don't know how you figure out what's in a bag when it's a black garbage bag and you can't see it. I know for myself, every once in a while, it's like I toss a can in the garbage can and I'm like, I gotta pull it out. But you know, like, how many times does that happen, and how many different households? And now you've got 50 cans that have gone over the edge. I don't know. I just think that it's easier to identify what's in a bag if it's a clear bag.
Yeah. Heather.
Hi, I just thought, okay, so guilty of that. My mom puts the lids in the garbage, and I'm like, Mom, they're recyclable too. But how about we put the Calvin Mall on the outside and make it accessible 24/7?
On the outside of what?
Instead of having the hours restricted, we can put the Calvin Mall. I mean, I've heard of people talking about our recycling program for the Calvin Mall all the way down to Powassan. So it can be a pick up and drop off. If we have it more accessible, we can save garbage going over the dump. Ungated.
That's a possibility. I could see other people using it rather than Calvin people using it. And I could see, well, let's just throw that garbage bag there. Somebody's going to be looking at it anyway.
Yeah, right? You're right.
So.
It was a good idea, though, Heather.
Sorry.
Okay, so what I got out of everything, and maybe I'll probably forget something or whatever, is that we continue kind of with what we're doing now, except that we're going to be proactive in checking what goes over the side when it comes in, all right? And before it goes over the edge. And if it doesn't, the people who aren't throwing stuff over the edge are still going to go up and put their things there, right? Where they do now. If we're going to look at, we didn't have buying a new compactor truck in this strategic plan. We did have some other vehicles possibly, but not this. I think that's a good idea. there was one thing in the strategic plan about a better, safer location at the landfill site for the employees there. So I think that's going to come up later, I believe. That's what I got out of that. Did I miss something? Heather?
Reverse it.
Pardon?
Instead of having, the employees check afterwards, it's proactive. Reverse the flow.
Yeah, I think I said that, but okay. Or I meant to if I didn't, sorry.
Thanks.
So we check going in for the trucks and trailers dumping over the edge, see what you got. And if it can be sorted or sent to another place in the landfill, that's where they would be directed to take it. The people who just drive in with their garbage bag in the back of their car or truck or whatever, make the circle over to where it's sorted now. And the cans go where the cans go, and the garbage goes in a compactor, and away you go. We need to do something for signage, though, to make residents aware that we have to do something to let residents know we need to preserve the landfill. And a flyer is all good for a week or two, but I think we need something in their face every time they get there. If you go up to a landfill in North Bay, they got a big sign there that says what it's going to cost you right before you go in. I think we need to do something here similar. And as Christine said, we do have some information on our passes already. So I don't want to be the one to dictate what we're going to do here. So it has to be all of us that are into this. Dan, I see your hand again.
I think the sign's an excellent idea, and it could show, like, it could be changing so that it shows the number of years left in the landfill, and that changes every year, changed by the month almost. So, you know, and if we happen to get a new report that extends life of it, that's kind of like a reward that the residents get, like, because of your hard work, the life was extended, or, you know. But right now we're at 35 or something like that. Next year it'll be 34. So that year, that date can be changing, and it can be like a barometer on the how well we're doing, like the date of how long we can extend the life of the landfill to some degree.
And actually, with COVID, the last year it might have dropped to 30. Hard to say.
Awesome.
Anyone else? Councilor Cross.
I agree with what Dan said about the fluctuation of it going up and down. I think it's important, though, to also put the cost of what it would be, even though it's a guessing game in some ways, but the cost of starting up a new landfill or closing this landfill, because the number would be it would hit home knowing what it's going to cost if we have to close the landfill. And I think we do have it in our bylaw to be using clear bags. So I believe that I have great faith in our community that I don't want to use the word trainable, like that's not a word we should be using. You know, we can purchase a few boxes and hand out over a period of time free clear garbage bags to everybody who comes in and says, we are switching over within, say, 3 months. We are going to expect clear garbage bags by the end of that time period. If it's in our bylaw, we should be doing it. If we're not going to do it, then it should be removed.
Anybody else? 15.
Yeah, I saw in the bylaw that it says that we should be using clear bags. So I agree that if we're not going to do that, then it should be taken out. But clear bags is the easiest way to see what exactly is coming in and what's going over, or sideways or whichever way. And it keeps everybody like off of the garbage. Like you don't have to physically touch it because you can see what's in the bag. Not to say that, yeah, some stuff's going to get missed, but most of it is going to go where it's supposed to go.
And there could get some education there, like first time a clear bag comes in with something in it that's recyclable, you could mention to that person, see that item there that's recyclable, so next time you have something like that, we can recycle that for you, right?
Yeah.
I like the idea of clear bags as well. Heather?
I was just, I like the idea as well, but I think that enforcement is difficult for our employees. It puts them at risk. So education is the way we have to go. Enforcement, I think, is dangerous. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I agree, but it wouldn't be like, okay, next week we're going to have clear bags, right?
Yeah.
It's like 3 months or 6 months, okay? And it's advertised,
Right.
it's up on a sign. Okay, as of, I don't know, December the 1st, clear bags are mandatory, right? So
Yep.
It's now August, so September, October, November. Well, that's too soon even. 3 months is too soon. I think we have to drill it in.
Yep.
But it is
Thank
going
you.
to help us in that respect.
Yes.
So I don't know what we determined. We talked a lot. They had lots of ideas. Did you get anything out of that at all, Cindy? I know there was lots of talk, okay? Lots of ideas, but no real firm direction, right?
Yes and no. So first of all, is this something that all of council wants in the strategic plan as one of the objectives? That's first.
Yes.
Oh, let's hear.
Based on the conversation, I'm assuming that's
Yeah,
what you want.
everybody's shaking their heads except for Councilor Maxwell. Are you in agreement, or?
Yes, definitely an agreement. It's one area where
Okay.
we can actually save money and save taxpayers some money. Definitely an agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then I wrote down 5, 6 things that
Okay.
essentially council wants to implement based
Okay.
on the strategic plan, okay? So first is continue the way we are, but trying to be more efficient by proactively looking at what's going over the edge. One of the suggestions, the way that we can do that is to reverse the flow so that it's looked at, people's trucks or trailers or whatever are looked at beforehand, before they're go and put things over the edge.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Second thing, buying a new compactor truck at some point so that they can be, the compaction can be increased from 50% to however high we can get it. Possibly even baling the garbage as well to try and get it more, extend the life of the landfill. Third, have a safer location such as a building for the employees, and potentially putting the Calvin Mall in the building as well. Education, so a signage that will let people know. There is a sign up there already that says what the costs are for the different things, but this sign will let them know. It'll be a dynamic sign that will change periodically based on the information that we have of the costs involved in what the landfill closure and reopening of a new landfill will be, as well as the number of years that we have left. And finally, switching over to clear bags. So implement a time frame in which we are going to have clear bags be mandatory, and then make sure, again, you'd have to have some kind of enforcement at some point, some kind of penalty if you're not using clear bags, something. Otherwise, people are just going to go back to buying black bags or whatever.
Right.
So,
Those are the 5 to 6 things that I got from the conversation that council wants to implement in the strategic plan. Some of them are going to take longer than others. For instance, implementing clear bags may take 3 to 6 months we might give people 6 months to get used to the idea of using clear bags. A compactor truck,
6 years?
well, the question becomes, do we want to, we can have a compactor truck. We already have a compactor truck, but do we want to invest before the changes or after the changes by the province? As Councillor Maxwell indicated, this is supposed to be a long-term goal, and it can change over time depending on what happens, but I don't know if you want to spend the money before or after.
Cindy, what year did we?
Well, Councillor Maxwell?
I think that's, we could have, I think we have to look at maybe someone developing a plan for us for the landfill layout, the layout of how it will be. The reverse flow is, I like that idea, but it's not just checking the garbage first. It's actually taking the recyclables out of the incoming vehicle first, so that the actions happen in reverse. So that all of the recycles get taken out first, and then anything left goes over the last resort goes over the edge. But right now the edge comes first, so everything tends to, your truck's messed up and you can't reach everything, so you just throw everything over. Or people, so I'm thinking in terms of how your vehicle's unloaded, it's unloaded in the reverse flow as well. So everything that can be diverted comes out first. And I think that we have to use the word transparent bags rather than clear bags, because I think sometimes clear means just clear, as in there's blue bags that are transparent. Our recycle bags are blue, but they're still transparent. So the transparent bag would be a better word that we should be using when we're talking about that. And the building, yeah. So I think with the building, we also need a plan, so a layout of the area, a new layout of how the flow would work before we invested. But it'd be nice to have this shovel ready, so that in the event that we could get some money from the government, we can plug this project into it. So we're talking compacting, and not necessarily a truck, but it could be a machine, or it could be a compactor that's not a compactor truck. So we keep saying truck, but I'm thinking more of could be some type of loader or something. We may need to buy a loader for the landfill that compresses. Maybe if they had their own loader too, it would take the stress off the roads department's loader with the tires that keep getting damaged. So maybe they need, when we buy a new loader, the used loader maybe should go up there, because we're thinking long term, right? So the loader could go up there, and that saves these. Once a year we have to buy new tires for the loader, which is expensive. But if you had a loader that was designed for the landfill, so the tires didn't get punctured, they were filled with foam or whatever they used in that situation, it could save us some money. So that's one other item, maybe some type of vehicle that packs that manages the refuge without having to use our roads department's equipment, because it is a different job. It's not the same as ditching. That's the rest of my input. I think we have a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to say anything more.
Councillor Cross.
I was just wondering if Cindy knew off the top of her head when we bought this last garbage compactor. It was 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
I don't know the answer to that, but Jacob might. Jacob, do you know the answer to that?
I believe we purchased it in 2018.
Oh,
Because the old compactor truck, I believe we got about 10 or 15 years out of it before we had to replace it. This one, we're hoping to get a 10 or 15 years. So if we're looking to replace with something more efficient, we may want to consider starting to put something into reserves in the future. This was a fairly cheap one. We got this for under $10,000. And when you're looking at something at a 9-to-1 compaction ratio, we were looking at over $100,000 for a used compactor. The baling stuff, I had looked into some of the baling stuff. It was fairly expensive, and the issue was getting the hydro to the landfill. We'd actually have to bring hydro and I believe 3-phase hydro into the landfill to operate that sort of equipment. So that's also something to consider in the future, putting money into reserves for that sort of idea.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks, Jacob. Sandy?
If we were going to be considering a building for the staff as well, I would like it to be considered maybe something that is movable. Because if we are going to be closing the landfill at some point, investing money in something that will end up staying at the landfill kind of doesn't go with, you know, we should be thinking about something like those portable offices that roads crews use, that they're heated, but they're movable. That might be something to be considered instead of something that is actually built on land and we wouldn't be able to move to the new landfill site.
Councillor Maxwell?
Okay, last one. I think the Quonset style building was moved, the one that's over the truck, I think that might have been moved 3 times already, wasn't it? It was at the roads department, and I think it was at the other location where the fire hall was first. So that one's been moved around a few times. So something like that where it's just disassembled, and that style of building is movable. But we do need a plan though, of a little plan, and so that we can apply for some money, because even 100,000 sounds like a lot of money, but when we're looking at closing the landfill, like millions of dollars, like it's not that much money. When we're looking at buying some decent equipment, we're talking big money at closing it. So, I mean, we had to put 40,000 away this year in the budget alone just for closing. If we could extend that lot, use that money in buying some equipment that would extend the life of the landfill, it would pay for itself. We wouldn't have to put as much aside. I think the budget had 40,000 in this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 20 for closing and 20 for a new one. Okay, I know we got lots on the agenda, so I'm not going to say any more.
Anybody else? Okay, so Cindy, I think you had everything there.
Okay. Thank you.
I agree with Dan about, yeah, it's going to be a pretty fair investment right now to buy a new kind of compactor, or a better compactor. But if you look at it in the long run, if it extends the landfill for a couple of years, that's a big bucks, right? So, okay. I think that one's been discussed. Is everyone prepared to move on from that one? I don't see Councillor Shippen anymore. Where's she? There she is. Okay. Jacob got in there. I only get to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I don't get everyone. I missed someone. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is actually in the report, was the rising operating costs for vehicle and insurance and internet. So the first heading was vehicle mileage expenses. And I know this has come up in previous years about a vehicle for the municipality, whether it be for roads or other uses, or both. So I'm going to leave this. I think it's a pretty good idea, actually. And I think one vehicle could be shared because if there was a radio in it and it was required, it could be brought back to the hall, and things could be postponed if required. But I'm going to put this out there. So Councillor Cross, I asked you first last time. Councillor Shipman, any ideas or concerns or thoughts on the vehicle for the municipality?
I think one vehicle is probably fine in that, like you said, if you put a radio in it, it could be brought back or it could be whatever. Also, you could make a schedule for, and I realize that sometimes a schedule won't work. There'll be some emergency or something that's going to crop up and it's going to throw a wrench into the schedule, but you can probably have a schedule for who's doing what with it on each day or whatever of the week for however long, and work on it that way. More vehicles are always nice, but when you don't have the money for them, I don't know that it's worth spending for another one.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted.
Yep, one vehicle should be plenty. I also think that we should go to 3 different tenders, and perhaps $2,000 a year for repairs would be alleviated with the warranty program. So that would save us, $10,000. So, but yeah, because I was looking, we just go to the big 3. Dealerships, but the one is too far away for service, so just go to 3 dealerships in North Bay, which is closer, faster, more efficient for the maintenance. But yes, one vehicle seems appropriate.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell.
I think it might be cost effective right now to do that. To actually implement a vehicle, it would help if the departments were amalgamated into one public works department, so that the rec department was kind of in with the roads as well, so they would know where the truck is just by knowing what each other is doing, which projects are coming up, who needs it at what dates more. I guess that can be communicated as well, but it would have to be a lot more communication as opposed to if one person managed the vehicle. I'm curious if it would be a pickup truck, would it have a plow in it or not? These are kind of questions I'm wondering about. Could it be used for plowing some of the areas that, the parking lot or something like that? I don't know if that would be needed or not, but and the possibility of leasing the vehicle. I'm not sure if that was mentioned in here or not. Leasing the vehicle would take away all the maintenance costs because you don't have to, well, you have to maintain it, but any scratches or dents though is a problem. Leasing didn't work for me, but I don't know, a lot of companies lease their vehicles. So that's a possibility, but I think it's a good idea and we should look into it. We should get pricing on it and get more numbers so that we know exactly. I guess I don't see a total of our cost of mileage plus vehicle. I see the roads department is there, but like on the year, I didn't see the total for the other mileage on there. And I have to ask staff, would that work? Would one vehicle work for all of the trips to North Bay and Mattawa? And I'm not sure if that would work. I think the roads uses it to inspect the road as well, and I don't have anything else to say. It's a good idea, but I'm not sure how we'd implement it.
Councillor Cross.
I think it's a good idea. I don't have anything further to mention.
Okay. I think it's a good idea as well, and I think if we were to turn it over every 5 years, I don't think there'd be a lot of maintenance on it. So I think that would be a saving there. A lease might even be better for us. Usually leases cost a little bit more than it does to outright purchase. So that would have to be determined, which would be the cheaper way to go. But it seems like everyone was pretty much in favor of looking at this. And it says it could be, there's kind of certain emergencies, right? Like animal control calls, something that happened in the roads department. You pretty much know when you got to take the mail to Mattawa or go to the bank, right, or something like that. And we're still not saying that we're going to take away mileage expenses from anyone who's working, like staff or administration. I think this would be a relatively good idea. That's my humble thought. So I think we have determined that this is a good idea. We'd probably like to proceed with it within the next, 3 years, 4 years, whatever. We need a time limit on it, and need to look into which one would be cheaper, a lease or a purchase, and we have to look at what kind of a vehicle we want. I think we would want a 4-wheel drive, okay, for one thing, because we live out here in the country, and sometimes it snows. Also, has to be large enough to be able to haul stuff around. So probably a half-ton's not going to do it, right? It might have to be a 3/4 ton or something like that. That's things we'd have to get input from someone who was knowing or had that information, that expertise. Anything else from anyone? No? Okay. Did you get to know that one, Cindy?
Yes. So we're going to have a 3 to 5 year time frame to implement this.
Okay.
We're going to investigate whether a lease or a purchase is appropriate, and we're going to determine what the best vehicle for the use of the vehicle will be, whether it's a 3/4 ton, a half ton, whatever.
And accessories, like if a front, like a plow or something would help, would assist, or do we need that with the bigger trucks that we have? I don't know if it would be an advantage, or I'm not sure. Right. Okay. Next item down below here is insurance. And I know we've had, there's been a lot of letters, information letters from different municipalities that we've looked at. And I think we've even supported 1 or 2 of them. But we're relatively lucky this year with our insurance rate, but that's not saying we're going to be that way going forward. So there was a couple of suggestions in here how to possibly lower insurance costs. So that's up for discussion now. So I started with Sandy, then I started with Heather, and I'm going to start with Dan. Any ideas, Dan?
I was going to say I have no comment on this one. I don't know what to do about insurance. I mean, they usually have you over a barrel. I don't know. I have no comment on that.
Okay. So there's one here. The suggestion was for extra insurance for low-risk events that we added, and that was about $1,000 a year. And then we just did the volunteer firefighters, approximately $350 a year, but I don't think we can do anything with that one. I'd like them to be insured as much as possible. The $1,000 one is on the table for discussion, no? Or any other ideas you might have. So Dan's finished his. Christine.
Well, if we get rid of the insurance, how are we supposed to have any functions in the hall? Like, why do we have the community center if we don't have any insurance for people to use it. I don't really see the purpose in, I don't understand what this building's for then if we're not gonna have insurance and people can't use it.
Okay. I think we need liability insurance. Most people who have functions in the hall, we request for them to purchase their insurance to cover that event, and that covers damages and liability for people who might get injured, I believe. We would still have to have our fire insurance and our theft and hazard, like, you know, if a lightning storm came through and blew us into the bush, then we would need something for that. I'm just not sure what added insurance coverage we would require. And if we were to remove this extra insurance, how would that affect what's happening? Well, it hasn't been anything happening in the hall, but what could happen in the hall going forward? I don't know the answer for that one. Cindy, can you tell us what that would be?
I can provide an example that might help. So, for instance, if someone wanted to have a trade show or a where they sell vegetables, sorry, the word is escaping me right now. At farmers market, right now, our insurance would cover something like that because it's low risk with this added rider that we have on here. If we didn't have that, then we would have to make them get the insurance for something like that. So instead of us paying for it, it would be the vendor that would be, or the person that's renting the hall. And unfortunately, I can tell you that that's a deterrent for some people.
It's a concern to get insurance?
It's a deterrent for them for renting the hall because they have to go and get their own insurance, et cetera. In some cases, like high risk, so for instance, a wedding serving alcohol, that's not negotiable. They have to go get their own insurance. That's not considered low risk. It's
Right.
considered high risk. So in that case, the person renting the hall has to go get their own insurance. But exercise classes are considered low risk. Farmers markets, trade shows, I can't think, there's a whole big list of things that are considered low risk that would be covered under this rider insurance that we have now. We were just trying to make it more enticing for people to rent the hall by having this rider on our insurance.
Councilor Olmsted.
So that would include dinner dances with no alcohol, or what about sport events?
Sorry, say that again?
So dinner dances, that's low risk.
As long as there's no alcohol.
Yep. And what about sport events?
Depends on what sport.
Baseball.
I would have to double check the list to see if baseball would be considered a low risk or high risk. Something that's got high impact, so like if you were having a hockey tournament, that's not considered low risk. The risk of injury for when somebody's playing full contact hockey, the risk is significantly higher. I don't know, I'd have to look at our list to see whether baseball was or not.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so Cindy's given her explanation of low-risk events and possible savings of $1,000 per year approximately. Is that a go or is that a no-go? Nod your heads. To get rid of it? Yeah?
I want to leave it. I want to keep it there. I think it's important to have that to encourage the use of the hall. I'd like to keep it, keep that insurance in place. Sorry.
Okay. Dan, thank you. Councillor Croft?
In the last 4 years, we've invested a lot of money into the hall with the drilling of the well, air conditioning, new doors, renovation. To me, that would be to encourage renting the hall and the usage of the hall. And I feel that $1,000 is minimum. I would like to know what the high risk is. I understood this to be $1,000 for both high risk and low risk. Am I mistaken, Cindy?
It's only
It's
low
100.
risk.
It's $1,000 each.
No.
No, we don't do high risk at all. If somebody wants to do
Okay.
high risk,
Okay.
have to get-
I was going to say, okay. I feel with what we've done in the past 4 years with what we've done with the hall, that getting rid of the insurance would kind of put us backwards. I want to encourage the use of the hall. I want to encourage the community coming back together and doing things, which, you know, I understand if we had the rec committee that there would be a different rider for that, but we don't have that right now. So I would like to keep it personally. So.
Okay, so you're in agreement with Dan. Okay. Heather, what's your thoughts?
I agree, but I know when I rented the hall, I paid for my own insurance. So we still have to have insurance because it is an emergency center. So I think that all that's covered. If Cindy can confirm that for me, that'd be okay. Yeah.
Confirm what?
That using it as an emergency center is covered under the low risk, so we don't need to have the extra insurance. I mean, $1,000 is not going to make or break us. I'm on the fence as far as that goes.
Well, we are designated as an emergency center.
Yeah, so.
But I don't know if the low risk insurance has anything to do with that. Cindy?
we're an emergency center, so they're two separate things. That somebody wouldn't be. This is for somebody who's renting the hall. That if it's a municipal function, for lack of a better word, the municipal insurance would cover it. So because an emergency center would be considered a quote unquote a municipal function, not really a function, but that's the best word I can come up with right now, it would be covered under the municipal insurance. This is for people using the hall. This is, like I said, a baseball tournament. I have a list. I will send the list out to council tomorrow, and then you have the list. It should also be in your binders, your big thick binders that you got that at the beginning of the term. It's also included in there. But I have a PDF of it. I will send it to everybody tomorrow. This low risk insurance is for people using the hall, like for fitness classes, for, like I said, farmers markets, for trade shows, for, I don't know, a craft show, those types of things. Someone else is using the hall, not the municipality.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you. Then we'll just keep the $1,000 insurance. That's okay for me.
Okay. Christine?
Keep
I
it.
think you already said what. You think we should keep it or no?
Oh, so yes, keep it.
Okay. Dan, did I see your hand up?
No, we should keep it. I think we don't need to discuss it anymore.
It looks like everybody's in agreement to keeping it.
Can I ask?
Who else go to tender? Pardon me, Cindy?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it really necessary for this to be in strategic plan?
No.
No, probably not.
Okay.
No. Okay. I agree.
So council, all of council's in agreement that it will not be included in the strategic plan? Is that correct?
Okay, I see lots of nods. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the next item here is internet. Basically, the point behind this is, are we going to put away money for options for higher bandwidth in our municipality? Either save enough money to do it ourselves, okay, which would be very costly, or partner with someone else, or I think even with Blue Sky, there's going to be an investment required there should they get be able to partner with someone. So I think it's something we need to look at if we really want to do this. Right? So I'll leave that up to you guys for discussion. Councillor Cross.
Well, since I'm on the Blue Sky board, I should be definitely saying yes, we should be putting money aside. I am conflicted though, because there is the Starlink that people can purchase. I think that's like a $600 once you get everything. I do believe that we need better internet up here for sure. I think it promotes people being able to do business at home, people wanting to move up from where they are, they need better internet. The costs, though, I don't know what the numbers are, so it's pretty hard to, it's a significant amount of money. And I think with other issues that we need to put money aside for, it's hard to decide to say yes or no. It's beneficial, definitely, but what's the cost and how much, and when would we be able to? We still haven't heard if we've received any monies from the applications. Will we get anything allocated in this area? There's a lot of what ifs where people are already signing up for the Starlink and they're getting really good internet. So I'm on the fence with this one. Sorry.
Okay, Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, so residents that just moved into our neighborhood in April. The Starlink was like really expensive. It's gone down to half already. So I think it will be accessible. I don't think that we need to invest any money. I don't want to invest any money into the internet. Competition does that. That's all.
Okay. Councillor Shipham?
I'm not overly interested in putting any money towards the internet either. I mean, I have problems getting internet at my house that's reliable. So, and it didn't matter who I called to try and get somebody somewhere to be able to give it to me. Nobody could, and they weren't able to tell me that, like, we're getting new towers, we're doing whatever to help you get it. I had none of that. It was like, yeah, it's up to you if you want to go to someplace else. That's what I got told. So until there seems to be a better system in place to get internet out here, I don't really see the need to put money away for it when nobody can seem to tell us when, if, how, what it's going to cost.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell.
Good points by everyone. I think that I feel this. I'm reluctant to put money aside for internet in the future. partly the amount that we put aside is like a drop in the bucket compared to how much it costs. I think these companies are investing, have big budgets and big business plans where they'll recoup the money from their customers. It's kind of like helping out hydro. We can buy a pole or two, but that's about all we can afford. I just think our budget's going to be really tight in the coming years until we figure out what Castleton's going to do. So I don't want to put money aside for it just yet, right now, at this time.
Okay, so it sounds like everybody's unanimous and that we don't put any money away for internet. Okay.
Mayor Pennell?
Joe?
So
Yes.
just to be 100% clear here, the internet will not be something that's included in the strategic plan at this time then?
Right.
Okay.
That's my understanding of what everybody just said.
Okay, thank you.
It's not that it's not important. It's very important. We just can't afford to finance it right now. I mean, we want to encourage it in other ways by helping with bylaws or anything like that, but we can't help financially right now. I think it's like, I know internet's a big deal to a lot of people right now. People are struggling to get it.
And it doesn't mean that it can't be looked at a later date. It can be included in the strategic plan once other goals are achieved.
Sure.
It's just not in the strategic plan at this time. Correct?
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so our next item here is animal control. A campaign to increase the licensing, but use our flyer and social media outlets to do that. Like tagging an animal is, if the tag is worn, then what that does is makes it easier for our bylaw officer to contact the owner of the animal to return it, right? The chip's the same thing. I know we're coming into an agreement with Papineau Cameron to share that type of service. I don't know if it'll help I think it probably would help to push to have all our animals tagged. If they put a collar on the animal and it tags on the collar, then it's going to make it definitely easier to return that animal. So that's open for discussion. Councilor Olmsted.
So if I agree, but I always have my animals microchipped. So probably having a microchip reader would be a good asset for us to find, because animals slip their collars and that's generally why they escape. I agree with the future plan with Madam Cameron, but I think that we should invest in a chip reader, because that's the only thing I've used for 30 years anyway. That's all.
So are you saying that, I'm just asking here, that we should encourage all animal owners to have their pets chipped, and that the municipality would pay for that?
No. It's funny because back in the good old days, when you paid $30, say, that kept you on their database for microchips. Now it's the $30 to implant the microchip, and then another $50 to $80 to keep you on the database, and you have to sign up every year. Anyway, so it would be great if everybody had a license. But like I said, the majority of the time, it's when the pet slips their collar and we don't have a license anymore. That's when they lose their dogs, right? So if we had a microchip reader, then that would be a step towards. I'm encouraging everybody to license their dogs. I'm not saying I discourage it, but it's not accurate. It's not reliable. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I think we have a better possibility of having that done though than having everyone's pets chipped. Right, because
Yeah.
right now we don't charge for tags, right?
Yep.
But it would cost every animal owner that $30 or $50 to have it done, right? And
Yes,
then
yeah.
you're mentioning now an additional cost of storing that information on a database that's accessible to find out who actually owns that chip, right?
Yep.
So that seems like kind of a rip, but
Mhm.
that's just my opinion. Councilor Maxwell, your thoughts?
Interesting. It's not my area of expertise. I don't have a dog. The microchipping, I'm not sure. I'd like to hear other people's opinions still. If it's going to cost a lot of money, if there's a yearly fee to stay on the database, that sounds like a ripoff because nowadays the database is there. It's just to get off the database, it costs you money. To stay on it, that's kind of strange. So they're going to take you off if you don't pay the ransom.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that to our residents. But looking forward in the long term, though, we do have to manage our animals, our dogs. It's becoming, everybody's getting a lot of dogs these days. They're becoming it's a real big thing, and it costs us to manage that in the dog in animal control. So I think that we have to have some kind of policy going forward and some plan for the future. All right.
Okay. Councilor Shipham?
Well, if we were going to look at the microchipping thing, we would have to make sure that Papineau Cameron also had a microchip reader, because there's not much point in us having one and them not, because they won't be able to, if they're the ones on call, they're not going to be able to figure out where our pets go back to. So tags they seem to be the better way to go. And yeah, I mean, people have to wear their tags, but since it's a free thing in the township, I don't see the issue with like why people wouldn't come and get one. It's not like they have to pay for it. So
Councilor Olmsted.
So, where I came from, we had a licensing program, but if you had a microchip, then you didn't have to, well, we had to pay for our licenses, and that's great that we don't have to. And I just wanted to clarify with Councilor Maxwell, it's an additional cost. So it's $30 to install the microchip and a additional cost to ensure you're on the database, not a continual cost, but an additional cost. Anyway, so I'm saying that if our animals are microchipped, then maybe it was free down south. If your animals were microchipped, it was just another form of identification. I am pro licensing, but I would like the animal to go back to the owner as fast as possible. So a microchip reader, I don't think costs that much. And if we shared it with Papineau Cameron, so we can read the animals, that would be great. I just want to clarify that.
Now that's one thing that we don't know is the cost of the chip reader, and if there's any cost to access the database with the information we get from the chip reader, right? To be able to return the animal to their owner. Okay. Okay, so that was the first part of it. Then there's the second part here. If other animals are to be included in these clinics, I think that's the CHIP clinics that we're talking about, right? Then we would need to have that written into our bylaws. Okay. Okay. Councillor Cross.
We had this up on discussion, I think, last year about the licensing, and I talked to 6 different veterinarians, including the one veterinarian that used to do our rabies clinic, all of which not they didn't want to do the chip microchip clinic. It takes away from the money that they make at their own clinic. There is always a cost for the database. It's never for free. It would be a significant cost. The microchip readers that I was getting prices on started at $500 and up. The main thing was if they even were microchipped, you still need to find out who has that information of who owns the animals, and there's privacy issues. So there would be issues about collecting information of who owned the dog and their phone numbers. It was significant. And just the fact that most of the veterinarians were reluctant to participate in any type of clinic. I believe that the licensing is the way to definitely to go. I feel that maybe if we have repeat offenders, maybe they should be given a fine. If the dog is having an issue staying at home, it's the owner's responsibility to make sure that this doesn't happen if it's a repeated offender. The other thing is we can always have them registered at the office with taking a picture of the dog and, you know, having it on a database in the office for the bylaw officer to maybe able to go through and look at the picture and find the dog that's most resembles. Then they can call, that could be part of the free licensing of when they come in and get a license. I think it should be mandatory. And if the dog is a repeat offender, there should be a fine, because that is taking time away from other things in Kelvin that needs to be, you know, accidents happen. I get it. Dogs get out, they break their leads. But if it's something that is on a continuous basis, they can cause accidents. Somebody could die. So I think the cheapest way would be the license and, you know, taking a picture, doing like a mug shot of the dog and putting the owner's information on the backside. And we could have a clinic for that and volunteers to do that, so it didn't take away from the bylaw officer's time from doing other things. It's just a suggestion. That's all.
Okay, that might be a good idea. The mug shots, I mean. Like right now, I believe the tags are mandatory. You're supposed to have one for your dog, and they're free. And if your dog is a repeat offender, then you get a fine, right? So we're doing all that right now, right? But it does cost money and take time to do it, right? So, but with if we can get this agreement with Papineau Cameron, it's still going to take the same amount of time, except it'll be hopefully less time for each of our bylaw officers to be involved in that search. Right? So, Councilor Maxwell?
I think that I like that idea of identification by visual identification with a photograph. Nowadays, with the instant, we can put up a picture of a dog on our shared our app that we have, or it can be out there fairly instant. And if someone's lost a dog, they're obviously looking for it. What we run into though in the country is dogs being dropped off, unwanted dogs dropped off at that farm out there. It looks like they need another dog. Things like that happens too. So we do have that type of problem. That's just part of being in the country. Cats and dogs unwanted. But I like the idea of with technology, and we're talking about the future again here because it's our plan, right? So we can develop a plan that identifies a dog, and if it's a way of finding the owners, we could put it on our social media. They're pretty, dogs have distinctive characteristics, kind of like people, so often people identify sort of golden rat scale to say.
Councilor Olmsted?
Yeah, so you can buy one, a reader for $50 on Amazon right now. So the cost is really insignificant. I just want to get the animal back to the owner and have it cost the least amount for our township. Because for us to have to board it, we have an agreement with Bondfields for the pound there. I just think it's a really insignificant cost to save us a lot of money. But I agree, we need to have licensing, we need to enforce it. And I do like the idea of a mugshot. That's it.
I think we have to look at what it costs us to access the database as well, right? So there's some research going to be required.
Yep.
Councilor Cross, did you have your hand up?
You basically just said what I was going to say, is that you still have to be able to you may be able to read the chip, but it will not have personal information on that. You have to still be able to access that database, and that database is not free.
Okay. Next item here, like kind of item C, if council wants to switch from a complaint-driven responses to patrolling for violations, as well as coverage on the weekends, I have my thoughts on that, but I'll leave that open to the rest of you guys. So, Councilor Shipham, how do you feel about having someone driving around the roads looking to see if there's any stray dogs or cats?
I'm thinking that it's probably going to be more money than it's worth for the animals that they're going to find. Between wages, mileage, gas, all the other maintenance and stuff that goes on, yeah, I don't really think that that's cost effective at all.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Maxwell.
Yeah, I like complaint driven. It's just because of the cost of it. I don't know if we could put a cage in the back of the grader and have the roads department pick up dogs while they're waiting. Just joking.
I didn't hear what you said last, but
just joking. But the
must have been funny because everybody's laughing.
I did. Yeah.
Councilor Cross.
No comment. I'm good.
Okay, and for Olmsted.
No, it's just complaint driven, that's all.
Okay. Okay, so I think we've decided that we need to have a campaign through our flyer, possibly, to encourage residents to have their animals licensed, and that we could have a clinic where we could do mugshots or pictures of animals with their owners, so that if an animal did show up on lost and wandering, that we could refer to the database to see if a potential owner could be determined so that animal could be returned. And we don't want to change from a complaint-driven to patrolling. And I think that's all. Did I miss something, Cindy?
No, I'm just looking for a time frame.
Oh, time frame.
Do you want to implement this within 6 months, within a year, within 2 years?
I'd like to see, as soon as myself, I'd like to see the shared services between Papineau and Papineau Cameron and us as soon as possible. But the campaign probably, I don't know.
Yeah.
We have to make sure we have a camera, a good camera. We'd have to have some kind of a database to store that information in. We'd have to do it properly too. You'd want to take a picture of the animal and associate that with an owner. Because if we use the scenario that Councillor Maxwell was saying, where we could post the found animal on like a shared service, whether it be social media or whatever, then we'd want to be able to post just the animal, not the owner, right? So we wouldn't want the owner's picture there. That's all I have. But time frame, that's what we're looking for. Councillor Cross has her hand up.
It would be nice to be able to do this at the same time as a rabies clinic, if we could have a rabies clinic again. But obviously with COVID, I don't see that happening anytime soon because the gathering of everybody is going inside. But it'd be killing two birds with one stone, having a rabies clinic and also getting the dogs registered.
Okay, I know I think the last clinic we had when it was like a long time ago. And Greg O'Connor and his wife ran it, I'm pretty sure. And I think Greg mentioned to me that they had to guarantee a number of shots, okay, to the vet before they came. And if they didn't achieve that number, then that came out of their pocket. I don't know if that's still the case. I think the vet's name might have been Norma, maybe. I'm not positive. But I don't know if she's willing to continue to do something like that. That would have to be something that we investigate. That's probably, I know I used to take my dogs to that clinic because it saved driving to North Bay, right? And those, every time it was held, like there was all kinds of people that are very well attended. So, yeah. So if we could look into getting a rabies clinic and taking pictures, I guess.
Could I ask a question, Mayor Pennell?
Go ahead, please.
So for the photos of the animals, this is strictly for the dogs and not the large animals by law?
Okay.
I want to make sure that it's just for the dogs. It's not for cows, horses, goats, that sort of stuff.
How about llamas?
Goodness.
I'm kidding, of course. I would think we're just talking about dogs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've been talking about anyway. I wasn't referring to horses or cows, calves, pigs, whatever. Councillor Maxwell.
I would see this being implemented in a couple of years. The main reason that the slow implementation would be because this is going to take resources from our staff. They'll take hours and a setup process. And also, I think there will be some reluctance on our residents to do this because there seems to be this like freedom of doing things. So everybody like has their freedom these days, and they don't want to do anything that's government That comes from the government. So I imagine that a lot of people say, I'm not doing that. I think people, I don't know why I feel that, but it's kind of like the vaccine. There's just people that there's going to be people that won't do it just because they don't have to. They feel they don't have to tell what to do.
I agree that there probably will be, but there might be people that will, so.
Yeah.
If you could do both of them at the same time will probably be advantageous.
Sure.
But we still need a time frame.
I say 2-3 years.
Now is a very good time because of COVID's still around, right? So, and like you say, it's going to take a commitment. So I'm thinking, well, I'll leave it up to you guys. Dan saying 3 years?
2 to 3 years.
2 to
It's
3?
a strategic plan we're looking at here, so we can't do everything the first year.
Yeah.
It's kind of a goal too. Like, we have something in place right now that's already working.
Okay. All right. I think we should push for the licensing now, and maybe the rabies shots and the pictures later, like within the next couple of years. All someone has to do is come into the office and pick up the tag, right? So it doesn't cost them to put it in the flyer, right? We can start pushing it. That's my humble opinion. Councillor Olmsted.
I agree. I agree with you and Dan. So, yeah, implement the licensing now, but the enforcement in 3 years.
Councillor Shipham.
Oh yeah, implement the tags now and the other in 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Councillor Croft.
Yep, that's good. Maybe when we advertise for the licensing in the flyer, say instead of we're trying to get your information, that we're just trying to get your pet home safe to you, because that's the whole point of it, is to get them home safe.
Yeah. So you got all that, Cindy?
Yes, just one clarification that I'd like to make.
Okay.
This is only for dogs. Does not include cats.
That's my understanding.
Our bylaws do not include cats.
No.
Just wanted to make everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So our next item here is signage to direct people to Calvin. See, Cindy's done some investigation, and there's some costs associated with it. So depending on the size and content of the billboard, could be up to 5K. And then to putting the billboard, getting basically a license or a permit to put the billboard along the highway, $770, and it's good for 5 years. Does anybody think that this is a good idea? Councillor Croft.
I think it's a good idea, and the $770 every 5 years, that's really not that much money. I think this is something that we could maybe do in the future. It doesn't need to be done right away.
Okay. Over what time frame, Councillor Croft?
Within the 5 years.
Within 5 years, okay. Councillor Maxwell.
I'm sure that this has come across other councils in the past, and it'll always get cut at budget time, because when you're looking for something to cut at budget time, this will definitely get cut every year. And that's probably what has happened in the past. I think I remember 20 years ago talking about this when I was a councillor then, and it's a good idea. It would give us some recognition, I guess, but we always get to the point where we say we don't need the recognition, or we don't want to pay for it. The sign would last for up to 10 years maybe, so we'd have to replace it every so often as well. I like to see it. I know that when the budget comes along, we'll cut this every year. Every year when it says we're going to put 10,000 into road signs, someone's going to say we need to cut. and we're gonna cut this. That's, I don't know, how do we pay for it? Because it's a thing that, it's a cosmetic thing almost. It could be part of a whole branding thing, perhaps, when we do if we could get some money from a grant, or we could do a branding of our whole municipality, or all of our stationery and everything. Maybe we could do it as part of a branding project. And I would say if we did it, it would be like in the future, 4 or 5 years, we could go ahead with put this in the plan.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted.
I would like to see it. I agree with both of them. I wonder if there's some sort of funds available for Rural Watch, though, with all the things that's happening in our municipality these days. Can we have it tagged along with a Rural Watch program?
We don't have a real
Neighborhood
one.
watch. No, so perhaps we can look into that and yeah,
That's
I agree,
not-
3 to 5 years.
That's not part of this. This is signage direct people to Calvin. It's not
Yeah,
rural watch.
I would like that, but I wonder if there is funding for that. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, Councillor Shipham.
No, I agree with everybody else. It's a good idea, and 3 to 5 years is a good time frame to be looking at it.
Okay. Cindy, is there any funding available for this under that modernization money we received, or anything like that?
There is still some of the modernization money left over. I don't know the exact value off the top of my head, but
Could
some
it
of the
be
things
used for
we
this?
budgeted for were not as expensive as we thought they were going to be, so there is some money left. This wouldn't really fall under COVID money, though. So
If we told everybody that people in Calvin all had their shots already, I'm
if
kidding.
we could prove that, sure, but
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, like, what funding is out there. I remembered that one, and I thought, well, it is kind of modernizing things. Like, we're not promoting ourselves already, but this would, and bring us into modern times. And
yeah, I think it would fly under the modernization money. It just wouldn't fly under the COVID funding.
No, I don't think so either. Unless we encourage everyone to get their COVID shot on the bottom of that sign, right? So I guess from what I can see, everybody was in agreement with it over 3 to 5 years. We didn't know what the cost, where we were going to get the funds from, but there might be some money available to us in that modernization grant, or I guess it was a grant that we got that we could put towards that. So I think that was a go. Next item here is financing for infrastructure, and there was a whole lot of stuff in there. There was repairs required to our buildings, and the road surfacing, and the rink building, and the furnace, and the cisterns, and all kinds of stuff in there. So I'm assuming everyone had a chance to read it all. Also in this one here was one we discussed earlier about adding a building at the landfill, and it seemed like everyone was in agreement to that. And there was even a suggestion of the type of building that we could put there. Like the one, I don't know what we call it, where we keep the grader now and where we store the
Quonset?
compactor. Yeah.
Quonset design, I think.
So like even like as far as moving that, I believe they moved the one at the landfill from the township yard, in one piece, okay, and went up over the Wally Bridge with that. So they transported it from the garage to the landfill without taking it apart. All right, they just had to put it on a foundation when it got there. So that's our staff can do wonderful things. Okay, so there's a number of things in here. And we did talk in the past about putting money away for updates to our buildings, whether it be the community center or whether it be the fire department or whether it be the municipal garage. We were lucky enough that we qualified for a grant for the garage that's going to put a new roof on it and new siding on it and some insulation. I think the heater and everything's already been updated in there already, like over the last couple of years, so we're probably good to go there. I'm not sure if this grant covered windows or not. So I think it's, okay, Cindy's saying no, so it's just the siding and the roof, right? Okay, so I'm going to leave this up for discussion. We're still going to do the hard surfacing, so we'll have to decide what we're going to do with the rest. Up for discussion, Councillor Olmsted.
I'm on the fence. There's no money. I don't want to put future council in jeopardy to say we have to have new windows. If we qualify for a grant in the future, I'm okay with that, but I don't want to, shackle somebody with that responsibility.
So only if there's funding available then. We don't save for it?
Yes, right.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell.
I think, let's see now. Okay. Yeah, it's good that we put the money aside for Peddler Drive. Now, we probably should think of also expanding that to cover more than just Peddler Drive. The municipal building where the office and hall are, I think we've actually done quite a bit of work on that, and it's in pretty good shape. I go to meetings out in Matawan, and the hall there is, I know they've done some work on it, but it's way older than our hall, and it's kind of I won't say anything. But we've done work on it recently, and it's there's some work to do still, but we have a really good base what we've got at the hall. Now there's some problems with the size of the hall, and storage at the hall is a bit of a problem too. So maybe we have to address the storage issue in the future, because we've kind of by making the offices bigger over the years, the hall's gotten smaller, and we've kind of just it's not quite big enough now for a wedding. It's good for a small gathering, but not. I think we can handle probably 100 people. Now, when it comes to the buildings at the rink, I'm hesitant to spend a lot of money on that until we have. I would like to see an official layout of our building, of the hall, and any other buildings that want to come in there. The rink could be easily moved, so that's not a big commitment to where the rink is right now. I mean, that could be put over by the playground area. If we wanted to redesign that area, we could hook into the hall and have some bathrooms that connect into the hall with all the services there. It might be almost as cheap to put outside bathrooms on the hall than to insulate. I don't think that building was designed to be insulated. The rink building, it looks like cinder block, so it'd be kind of hard to insulate and heat efficiently still. I mean, it is a commercial building. And the other thing is, as our population ages, and we've seen that we've got a large aging population, the rink is becoming less of a priority for a lot of people. I mean, people want to see it because it's always been there. It's the thing, but how many people are actually using it is a question that I've been wondering over the years. You don't see. I haven't seen kids playing hockey there in the last couple of years. I think people just don't play hockey anymore. If they do, they go to Mattawa, and they're in a league. So the whole priority on putting on the ice rink when we have an aging population, it might not be the right place to put some money. It's on the other side here. The sharing it. So I think that's all I have to add. Replacing the rink building. Maybe replacing the rink building might be a possibility. We talked about that the stage building we have at the front. This kind of used as a picnic area in the summer. I don't know if anybody used it or not. But there's a possibility. We've got a ceiling and floor and some supports there. 3-4 more walls, and we have an enclosed building. So that's possible as using that. It may not cost as much to renovate that into like a warming shed for the rink. Just going to put a heater in there, and I guess there's no electricity neither. That would be a project, but that could be something that we could work on over 10 years maybe. Or I don't think I have anything else to add.
Okay. Councillor Shipham.
No, I don't think I have anything to add to anything that's already been said.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olmsted?
Oh, like I said, I don't want to shackle our future government.
Okay. Councillor Cross?
I am a firm believer of setting money aside for future use. Anything could happen. And I mean, for all you know, we could get hit by a tornado and poof, there was a lot of buildings. I believe that we need to be putting money aside. I don't like the idea of thinking that just because we have an aging population that we should invest into our infrastructure or things that could be benefit from like new windows or new siding or any other those other things. We do have a lot of people, new people moving into our community with a lot of children. Things aren't always going to be the aging population. I think we need to not pigeonhole us into one specific spot. And I think we should prepare for, future generations as well. I would like to see us put a certain amount of money aside every year, whether it gets allocated for something specific or not. I have this thought that, if we all see our own little vision of what we would like to see Calvin look like, if we could maybe collaborate those ideas to see which things are feasible and which things aren't. One of the things I always said that it would be lovely to have a pavilion over the ice rink that could be used as tennis courts or basketball courts in the summer, where outdoor gatherings could be with the sheltered. I mean, our hall is definitely one of our biggest assets, and having the gorge right next to it, it does draw a lot of people there who may want to have a picnic after going to the gorge for a walk. Building our assets is pretty important, I think. I would also like to see if we can somehow figure out a way where people who want to volunteer and fundraise or volunteer their time can work with the municipality. I know there's insurance issues or liability issues, but a lot of things that I've been reading from George Cuff, he basically says you need to start thinking outside the box and create new ways of generating, money into your municipalities, because the government isn't handing out money like it used to. If we could somehow coordinate with the people who want to do things in our community and have the time, and we can have an end goal. I see lots of municipalities that have roof raising funds for, say, like I said, a pavilion or an ice rink. There's no reason why we can't do that. It's just pretty much getting people together, and I'm ranting now, so I'm going to stop.
Okay.
I think we should be putting money aside every year.
Yeah, this heading was financing for infrastructure, right? So. Okay, so I think everyone's had a shot at it. Cindy.
I just wanted to add, so that council does take this into consideration as well, that when the province is doling out funding, there are certain things that they look at. For instance, how much money we've saved on our own. If we're solely relying on them to fund everything, they're not as prone to give us money as when we've saved some on our own and just need a little pop-up or some help or whatever. If we're not proactive ourselves, it's not a positive thing in the provincial and federal government's eyes. So it's just something to consider. Yes, it's nice. Absolutely, we are getting less and less funding from the provincial government than we used to. Our oomph has degraded significantly over the past 20 years, et cetera. But they do look at how much money we have in reserves, how much we're trying to help ourselves, essentially. I just wanted to put that out there so that council takes that into consideration.
All right. Councillor Maxwell.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is actually on the right topic or not, but part of when we're saving money for spending money on these projects, the main problem I see with the design of our area is that the rink is not attached to the hall, so they're separate entities. They have their own bathroom, their own hydro, their own heating. If they were together in one unit, like a lot of community centers you go into the doors, the hall's there, the rink's there, whatever else is there. I would like to see our rink facilities tied into the community center so that you walk in and you can go to the rink and you can have something like some joining building that joins them together if we're going to have a warm-up building or an inside area where there may be concessions or something like that. I mean, that's a bit big, but before we put money away, invest more in the what we have there. I'd like to make sure that the design is proper, because it seems like we have a fundamental design flaw with the rink being a separate entity, but yet so close to the hall. If we have the bathrooms there, we can consider the design of maybe utilizing the hall bathrooms for the rink building. I'm not sure the exact design, but I would like to see perhaps the rink put over by where the playground is and tie the two buildings together so that you walk into the hall is on one side. So if you're having a skating event, the hall is accessible, because often we want to use the hall for the kitchen that's in there. But with the skating event, it doesn't really work because it's too far away from the rink, from a walking distance. And the other thing with the rink, to make it more easily, we should be considering about buying a Zamboni. We should be putting money aside for a Zamboni so that our staff can do a proper job on the rink, or some type of ice making equipment.
Okay. That wasn't in this, but I know we discussed it before. There was actually one for sale at Mattawa, and I looked into that one, and it had already been sold. And then Bonfield had one up behind their fire hall for a while, but it left before I got a chance to talk to anyone. So a little farther down in our report tonight, there's a part about Recreation Committee, and it's it's related to the rink building, basically. It's where the cisterns are stored. And I think we also need to look at servicing our staff. They need if we should get rid of those cisterns because we don't need them anymore. Okay, declare them surplus and get rid of them. Then that'll give us all that room that's in there. We can store our equipment inside, and it doesn't have to be in a heated storage area, but we can have a heated area there for them to work on a snowblower if they need to work on a snowblower, or to get out of the rain to work on a lawn tractor, or some area for them to go to do their maintenance. Because we do have people who are mechanically inclined, so we might as well promote that and give them proper tools and areas to do that work. So that's all I was wanting to include in the rink building, because in my mind they're both the same building. I know there's two different parts to it, I kind of like Dan's idea about attaching the bathrooms to the community center. And I don't even know how hard it would be to allow the bathrooms in the community center to be used for the rink right at this time, without putting, like, we could put a door, like heavy gauge, 5/8 plate, welded in place or whatever. I'm kidding again, so that you can't get past the bathrooms. All right, and then put some kind of rubber material on the floor so skates don't damage the tile, because we don't want to wreck those tiles, right? But I think we could do that in the short term, before, like, moving the rink and moving the rink building, all that sort of stuff. So I'd kind of like to go at it that way. But that's up for discussion as well, right? I kind
Good
of
idea.
tucked down into recreation department, and only because it was mentioned in there about the cisterns, right? We might be able to get some money out of those cisterns that could help to do some of that work, right? And it would be nice to have a warm bathroom in the wintertime. Yeah, okay, that's all I'm going to say. Councillor Shipman.
Well, I think we should be, as Councillor Cross said, we should still be putting money away, but there's no reason why we can't do fundraisers to get the bathrooms up and running, or put a roof over the rink, or any of the other multitudes of things that we wanted to do to increase usage. But they can be fundraisers. They don't have to be necessarily things that come out of our budget. But maybe if the fundraiser raises 75%, then we can throw in 25 type of thing. But we should be putting some money away for a rainy day.
Yeah. Everybody needs to do that, right? Like, you do that in your personal life. So if you don't, you can get in some trouble.
Yeah.
So what did you get out of all that, Cindy? Nothing?
No, not nothing. I'm not 100% sure exactly what the focus wants to be.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot about the rink buildings. I got that the cistern tanks should be considered surplus and sold off. Potentially making a heated work area for employees. Doing something with the bathrooms. I would like to say I do have some concerns from our point of view in terms of if you make the bathrooms that are currently in the hall open to the public all the time, they will get run down significantly faster than if they're just for hall functions.
Yeah.
And also bear in mind, staff also use those as washrooms here. So again, there's a number of things to consider. I'm not saying I don't agree with you. People probably want a heated washroom, if they're out skating, etc. But there's other things to consider, like people walking around in the washroom with their skates on, with their outdoor clothes on. They're not going to remain as nice as if they're just being used for indoor functions. Let's just say that.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, so there's something, we want to do something with the washrooms. That's about what I got from that conversation.
Right.
Is that what people are looking for? We want to put money aside. We want to develop a plan for something to do with the washrooms, sell off the cisterns, make a heated area. Does that cover it?
kind of, but not really. Counselor Shipham?
I pretty much agree with everything that Cindy said, but I'm wondering if the washrooms we could build like 2 other washrooms pretty much where our washrooms are right now, so we could use the same plumbing stuff that's already there, but it would be outside, and so it would be a concrete floor with the rubber over it for the skates, and we wouldn't have to go high end toilets and sinks or whatever. We could, however that plays out, but that could be a fundraiser thing to do instead of again putting money towards doing specifically that thing.
I like that idea. Oh, sorry.
If I may,
Okay.
one concern with putting the washrooms outside of the existing washrooms is that's where our septic weeping bed is currently and septic holding tank is.
Yeah. You have a weeping bed, or is it just a tank?
That's a tank and weeping bed.
Oh, I didn't realize you had a weeping bed. Okay.
Big. Yeah, it's big.
If we put them off the kitchen, Jacob, would it still do the same thing, or still be in the way with everything? Because we have plumbing and everything over there.
There would probably be some room off the kitchen. I'd have to do some measurements to get an approximate size of space that would be available, and also talk with Shane just to confirm there's not any certain setbacks from the septic bed for building.
Okay.
But that addition, for lack of a better word, would be built over the water line that's underground there, which could cause problems in the future if we had to do repairs to the water line, because it would be cutting it quite close to the weeping bed of the septic system, that it may be difficult to run or to dig a new water line around.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob.
You're welcome.
Counselor Croft?
I don't even know if this would work. Has anybody seen the bathrooms in Mattawa at the splash pad?
Splash pad.
It is, I believe it looks like a customized sea can that's been turned into washrooms. It's actually quite neat looking. That's just an idea out there. The other idea that I thought I would put out there is maybe, I think I've heard lately a lot of good suggestions from our residents about different things. And what if we have a meeting, like a public meeting that people can come out and give their suggestions of what they would like to see happen?
We have sent out a flyer like 3 times now, right? But sorry, I didn't mean to cut in, but
yeah, no, I know that. I just keep on hitting on that door saying, keep on trying. There's a lot of people that have had some really good suggestions, and I just thought that if we gave them the opportunity to be heard in that way, in a form where they're there themselves, not on a piece of paper, and maybe what the questions weren't on that survey, that they would, it's just something, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. If we were to do that, it'd have to be no answers. There would be no answers given, right? That they would all be questions that were received, that would have to be investigated, and not give any reasoning at that meeting, because everyone would have to be investigated fully before you could either proceed or not proceed, right? But that's a pretty good idea as well.
Well, it kind of coincides with what Mr. Mr. Maxwell said about planning before we do anything. If you collaborate ideas together and get an end picture, and then you start off with the simplest thing and then you build up to get the end goal. So what, I mean, like you said, some people may not even want to be interested in the ice rink. Maybe they want something different, like they want lawn bowling but I mean, if you gather everybody's ideas in that way, and then you come together and do like a mock-up of what you want your end goal of what you want the area to look like, and you take in everybody's suggestion or what, but I mean, only certain things will work, obviously. But yeah, we wouldn't be able to make any decisions or answer any questions. It would be just more of information gathering.
Yeah, that's what it would have to be, yeah. Okay. Cindy, did we give you an answer on that at all? You look kind of...
I'm not exactly sure how I can write that up.
Yeah, I know.
Can you give me some direct? I'm not in
a whole bunch of
with what
different
Councilor
answers
Frost
there. And
said, but in the same respect, if we do that, we're not going to finish the strategic plan. If you want to incorporate that, we're not going to finish it by the end of the year, which is what one of Council's goals was.
Oh,
Well,
no,
yeah.
no, that's not what that's not what I meant, to have that incorporated. This is just something in future that we could look at doing. I mean, my main thing is that we put money aside. Where it's allocated, I don't know.
Okay. Does that help you, Cindy?
Sort of.
Okay. There were,
Are you?
I think, a couple conflicting ideas, but Dan has his hand up here. Dan, can you...
And just like all the ideas, they're all good ideas, but maybe can we put them together in some kind of plan and finance and put money aside for that plan? We don't know what the plan is yet, but that's part of it is we're growing. But we need to have a master plan of the rink in their area where the washrooms want to be and all this, rather than hodgepodge putting it together as we go with the small projects. That maybe we need a large plan for that area, like where we have the playground, the hall, because the hall is a very, very good asset that we have. We can have a lot of things going on in that hall. We can have painting classes, we can have all kinds of activities for people. And the rink is like another area that we can have activities on, outdoor activities. So we have... Cindy has her hand up.
Oh, hi, Cindy. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so how about this? How about we put in the strategic plan that we develop a recreation plan that would incorporate those types of things? Is that
Over the next...
fair?
Sounds good.
Everybody okay with that?
That's why you are who you are.
Everybody
Yes.
shake their head, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
And a time period over what, 3 years? 5 years?
5.
5? A lot of stuff here, so. But we're gonna have to come back to it, right? So, Councillor Olmsted?
No, I said 5. That's just
Oh,
can't.
okay.
Can't make moves.
Okay. So that's for recreation, right? So we still haven't done the financing for infrastructure, correct? There was a couple people who thought that we should be putting money away. We kind of are already for like the fire truck, and we're putting a little bit of money away for that. I think we're putting money away for another roads vehicle. But I don't know if the amounts are significant enough to actually have enough in reserve to buy one, like if something should happen. I guess there's always IO loans or whatever in an emergency, but it'd be nice to have that money put away so that we could forecast when we're going to purchase those items. Yeah. So okay, so do we just like take a vote on putting money away, like for infrastructure, or Councilor Maxwell?
Did we put away 100,000 this year away in reserves? I think that's what it was in the budget. It's good that we keep doing that, but I think that we'll, with our tax base of 250 houses, about 400 or 500 people, I don't think we can ever have the whole thing paid from our taxpayers. We're always going to have to rely on grants to some extent and programs from the federal government, from the provincial government, or the other governments. I don't think we'll ever be able to save.
Well, we need to work towards it. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
There's something. Yeah. There's always something. Like we've done quite a bit of work at the fire hall. Okay. Doors and siding and roof and furnace has been replaced, upgraded from, I think, oil to propane. So that's been a significant saving. So that's some work that's been done there on the building. The fire hall building is getting taken care of this year. The community center has had quite a bit of things done to it over the last 3 years, we'll say. So we still, but now we've got to think about, besides buildings, we have to think about our vehicles, like our equipment, our fire trucks, our pumper trucks. We won't need a grader for a while. We won't need, probably a new truck wouldn't hurt in the next few years. But we have to think about those things and put money away for that. And I'm not sure how much we're putting away right now. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. So are we in agreement to continue to put away money each year for infrastructure? That's a question I'm going to ask you all. I see Councillor Olmsted shaking her head. I see Councillor Shipman shaking her head. I see Councillor Cross staring at the monitor. So are you in agreement to doing that, Councillor Cross?
Yes.
And Councillor Maxwell?
I am, if the budget allows us to do it.
All right, so is that an answer for you, Cindy?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Next item here is Chief Administrative Officer, CAO. CAO implementation has already been discussed with Council, and further reports will be forthcoming on this subject. So we have discussed it a couple times, just in general, and it appeared that most people were in agreement, but there will be further information coming on that subject, but just want to make sure that it's in the forecast for the next, and we can vote whether to do it or not over the, say, the next 2 to 3 years. That's what I'm thinking, and that's open for discussion, everyone. Councillor Shipham.
Yes, I think it's a good idea, and it should probably be done as soon as possible.
Okay. Councillor Cross.
I believe we should be doing that as soon as possible as well.
Councillor Maxwell.
I am concerned about the amount of costs that it would cost us to, the expectation of a higher salary for that position, that it may cost us another, I don't know, what I think the position will require a higher pay than anything else we have in attached. I think that's why we're doing our own CAO right now as council, because to save money, that we don't have to pay that high cost of the chief administrative officer. I also am concerned that I find that I'm still thirsty for finding more, knowing more information about what's going on in the township and I don't get that. So I'm afraid that I'll get even less of that if we don't have reports from the departments. If all the reports are found through one person. I appreciate getting the reports from the roads department, and I like them being at the meetings so we can ask direct questions without having to go through a person.
But nothing said that wouldn't happen, right? So.
Okay, as long as we still have the reports from the heads, I would probably be okay with it.
Okay.
I'm concerned about the amount of cost. The cost.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure what that cost would be. We'd have to explore that a little bit further. I'm in agreement to doing it. I think there's a number of reasons that we should go ahead and do it. So I'd like to see it in our strategic plan over, say, the next 2 years. Okay, I know Councillor Shipman and Councillor Cross have said they'd like to do it as soon as possible. Councillor Maxwell said he would like to do it, just concerned with cost. And Councillor Olmsted, your thoughts?
My thoughts are exactly what Councillor Maxwell said.
Okay. So it seems like everybody's in agreement to do it. It's just a time frame.
Cost.
Yeah, and the cost, right. So 2 years? 1 year? Councillor Olmsted says 2. Councillor Shipman says 1. Councillor Cross. I'll go for 1, 2. So that's 3 1s and 2 2s. So let's put it in the strategic plan to look at this over the next year, plus with further reports, right, forthcoming?
Yeah.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is training for council. Okay, we haven't had a lot of training. It's probably, if we would have had training right at the beginning of our council, it might have changed a few things. Not sure. That's 20/20 hindsight, right? But I think we should put some money aside each year for some training, whether it be on, it can be any training, right? It doesn't have to be related to our bylaws, or it could be something else, like development, right? So, but my idea is that we should put aside some money for that. So I'm gonna throw that out to you guys. Councillor Olmsted.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
How much do you think we should put aside? 3 to 5, like 4?
Yeah. Yeah. 4.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Cross?
Yes, I agree. I think any new council should have mandatory training. Council was only as good as the tools that they're given. Some wise person just told me that. We did have a bit of training. I think a lot of it is, how we think or view or what we're coming into, but getting good advice and training from experienced people, long-term people that have been in this for a long time is essential to being a good council. And we all are learning. We all make mistakes. And hopefully we don't make those mistakes again, and we just keep on growing and becoming stronger and stronger. So the only way we can do that is by being taught, and the only way we can get taught is by paying for that. So I agree.
Okay. Now I can't remember who I asked. Councillor Shipman, did I ask you?
No.
No? Okay, I'm asking.
No, I agree that we should have training. This has been slightly confusing for me. So anything that can unravel it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Repetition is a great way to learn and remember. right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yes.
based on some of the prices that the AMO has been putting, like for their courses, yeah, the probably closer to the 5 would be
Yeah,
better for, so that everybody can go.
yeah. Okay. So Councillor Maxwell, your thought?
I think that initial training, the first within the first year, is probably important. There's so much to learn that you can't take it all in a course. You just have to learn it as you go, and by asking questions weekly, and by calling Cindy and say, "What do I do in this case?" And so some initial training once a new council is set up, and not only training, but what do you call it, networking, where you get together and get to know one another too. And I think you get better working relationship, developing a good working relationship. COVID has been really bad for not developing relationships because it's so impersonal sometimes. But if you're in a room with somebody and you're reading their body language and you're talking to them, you're having casual conversations, you're not being recorded, you get to know people more, and then you do better interaction and you work better together as a team. So I think some team building in the beginning as part of that training would be good. Yeah, so I'd say put aside 5,000 for that.
Okay.
If we have
I
it.
didn't ask you for an amount, Councillor Croft.
Yeah, the same, 5,000.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're all leaning to yes and 5, right?
Just one more thing.
Yes, Councillor Maxwell?
Sorry to go on, but this could be in-house training too, just in our own community, our own. It doesn't have to be an outside company to come in and tell us what we need. It could be just going over that thick binder or in a group, in some kind of social event where there's donuts and coffee, like the good old days.
Yeah, okay, that's a good thought too, Dan. Did we have a night at the first of council that we went through that book? Yeah, I thought we did. I wasn't positive, but it is a thick book and it's got legal jargon in it. So nobody writes anything in English, right? So layman. Did you get that one, Cindy? Yes. Okay. That's training. So roads need study. So we're talking 25 to 35, unless we can hook up with maybe another municipality that'd like to share that service with us. I don't know what the cost would be in that case. Maybe half. I guess maybe it might depend on the size of the municipality and the amount of bridges and things we have culverts. So do we want to put this in the strategic plan over the next 5 years to see if we can develop a partnership with another municipality to do a road study? I don't know how often they're required. I know it's been a while since we had our last one. Yes, Cindy?
Last one was done in 2009.
9? No. So we're looking at what, 12 years? Yeah, 12 years. Any recommendation on how often they're done?
Well, it depends on the municipality. Some municipalities do them every 5 years, some every 10 years, some whenever they can afford them.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to have. It provides an awful lot of information. And there's different levels. So you can get a basic road need study where they just deal with the roads, that's it. You can add on things like traffic information, traffic counts, that type of thing, signage, whether signage needs to be improved or added, or so there's different things that you can add.
Okay.
Or subtract, for that matter, to reduce the cost.
I think right now our road superintendent seems to have a pretty good handle on what signs are required where, and how far apart and all that sort of stuff. And I know he's active in if a sign gets borrowed wouldn't be the right word, removed, okay, from corner, that it gets replaced. And there, so I think we can rely on that individual to do that. But I think it would be probably to our benefit to do a basic study of the roads, just to see if there's any suggestions in from an outside eye, looking at it, to make sure that we're not overlooking something or there's something we should give a higher priority to. That's just my thought. But just a basic study, not to do with signs or how much traffic's on the road or that sort of thing. That's my thought. So I'll open that up to you guys. Councillor Cross.
I don't want to be long-winded, but I tend to be. Normally when I hear somebody say, oh, we're going to do a study, that my first inclination is like, oh, wow, all that money, it could have gone towards something. My question is, I know that Mayor McLaren has given some money. Can the road study for the joint shared services, could that be covered under that? I mean, I don't have an issue if it's covered with it being paid through a grant. Personally, I think the money would have gone better to actually putting it onto the roads. But if there is a time frame of how often it should be done, and it's been that long, 12 years is a long time, I would definitely prefer to go in with another municipality that is doing the road study rather than pay the 25 to 35,000 doing it on our own. So I don't know if this falls under that, Cindy, with the joint shared services, the money that was put out. I think no. Okay.
I think a question we need to ask is, do we need to do it? Like, if we don't need to do it, why do it, right? Is there some law someplace that says we have to do one every 10 years or 20 years? And no? So I don't know I don't know why we would do it then. Like if you drive from Chisholm to Bonfield to Calvin to Papineau, okay, and you look at our roads, there's none any better, right? Like the ditches are taken care of, there's gravel on the road, they're graded, they're plowed in the wintertime, there's guardrails, there's bridges, and we're looking at the bridges now, right? So the guardrails on the bridges, so I think we need to determine if it's really necessary, because here's $25,000 to $35,000 that maybe we don't need to spend at all. But I have no way of determining that. So. Councillor Olmsted.
I 100% agree with you. We have an awesome road through here. Our roads are better than everybody else's, and I don't think that we should waste the money. I worry as well, if we do sign up for this, what our legal obligations are then. So if they say this, and this is wrong, and it's going to cost us exponential amounts of money, how are we supposed to get it? And then does that make us legally bound in case something happens that goes wrong?
Do something about
That's
it.
my concern.
Okay.
Right? That's my concern.
The only thing, I think I've talked to everyone, or maybe I'm just mouthing off all by myself, I'm not sure.
not Dan.
I think the only way it should go into our plan is if we are required by law to do it, okay? And if we can get a partner to partner with to do it. That's my thought on it. So, I don't, yeah, that's where my thought, and that's the way I got it. Okay, so Councillor Cross, I see your hand up.
I would like to see if it is possible that our road super has maybe a 5-year plan on the roads, on where maybe we can add, fix, something, especially if he is retiring, that we have a goal that has been set in place for the next
Okay.
person to.
I hear what you're saying,
Well,
okay? But that's something different than a roads needs study, all right? So that's something we're getting from, that's not here in this list, all right? So, but that's a good idea, right? And I think we can ask for that, but not in this meeting tonight. Councillor Maxwell.
I didn't comment yet, so I thought I'd just say that I'm not in favor of a roads needs study in the plan right now. We have some road issues that we're dealing with, but I don't think the needs study would address them. I want to see our roads expanded, and we have other road discussions to have, but I don't think this would help any. I think sometimes we study things to death, and like we know what we have to do.
Okay. All right. Cindy, Councillor Shippen.
Well, I agree with what you said earlier. If we're bound by law to get one done, then we should get it done. But I would prefer to do it with 1 or 2 or however many, if it's possible to do it with more than like just one other, to keep the cost down.
Okay. So what did you get out of that, Cindy?
That I will double check with our municipal engineer to ensure that there's no legal obligation.
Okay.
And if there is a legal obligation, I will start calling the regional municipalities to see if any of them need one done, and see how many of them we can get together and try and cut the cost as much as possible.
Okay. Maybe a question you could ask as well, because our engineer is Mr. Bouchard, right? Or Antoine Boucher?
Yeah, Boucher. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So maybe he could give you an idea. He knows what condition our roads are in, is if we're not obliged by law to do it, if he thinks there's any benefit to us doing it. Okay, so thank you for that. Next item on our agenda is the development of the recreation department. We kind of talked about this a little bit. Okay. And I know Councillor Maxwell talked about the band shell, and that if we sided it, then that might create a warmer area for gate changing, I guess, or a warm, out of the wind kind of place. Then the cisterns, I kind of talked about that a little bit. So I'm going to leave this. Go for it, guys. Councillor Maxwell.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, I like the idea of the plan, of putting together a plan for recreation. So that's probably would come first. Getting rid of the tanks is probably a good idea. Now, it's my understanding that there's, when we had the tours, when you first signed up, when we first took council, there was a workshop in the back where they pulled in the lawnmowers to work on. I thought there was a heater there too, but I can't remember, like a small, maybe it wasn't a heater. But there was an area at the back with the doors.
Cistern area, I think.
Yeah, so that's over on the other side of the building, right? Kind of.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, I remember them showing us that. Yeah, take them out, sure. I don't know how they got in there, but Yeah, we don't need them. Sell them. Get rid of them.
Okay.
Before you invest heavily in that building, though, there's some issues with the sinking apparently this year, and because we heated it last year, I'm not sure that's the exact cause of it, but I'm not interested in spending a lot of money on that building. Not to mention, I think it's the ugliest building in the township because of the two roofs that don't match up, and concrete walls, and it looks like a little jail. Sorry about that. Should have said that. It's nice.
That's not part of this, though.
Yeah, I know. I apologize.
Okay, so I see you agreed to get rid of the cisterns.
Yes. I don't want to spend too much more money on it other than that.
But you don't want to spend any money on the building, right?
Not until we have a plan and see how it fits into the plan.
Okay. All right, so if there's no plan, then there's no money for heat or anything for the bathrooms then either, right? Until there's a total plan created. So you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Because, yeah.
Councillor Cross.
I agree. I think we should, before we spend any money, we should know what we're doing. I think throwing money at this and throwing money at that, and then all of a sudden, oh, we don't want that there anymore. Or I think we need to have a plan in place so that our money is spent proper and well, and we get bang for our buck. So I think, yeah. And get rid of the cisterns for sure.
Okay.
That could be the beginning of our fund.
Okay. Councillor Shiplin.
Yeah, I agree. Get rid of the cisterns, and we should have a plan. And however long the plan's going to take, but we can try doing some fundraising as well to make some money for the plan when we figure out what it is.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted.
Dave, I agree with everybody.
Okay. So this is what I think we decided, that we side in the band shell to make a area out of the cold for people to, oh no, we're not doing that until we get a plan, right? We're not doing anything until we have a plan, right? So we need to have a plan developed. And there was a number of issues brought up tonight. There was moving the rink. There was tearing down that building. There was developing outdoor bathrooms connected to the existing community center that could use our existing septic system and water from the community center for flushing and for washing hands, whatever. What else do we have? There was, I think that's
Maybe
all.
a canteen,
Until,
a canteen in the community center for when they're using the rink. Yeah.
a canteen?
Yeah, well, if people are going to come and use the rink, then, I mean, depending on how many people there are, obviously you're not going to have somebody in here for 3 people. But, I mean, if you've got somebody that's using the rink for a family hockey game and there's 20 people out there, then you might want to have somebody in here selling hot chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, we've done that before. Councillor Maxwell.
The in the plan that's going to go in the plan, you mentioned that dealing with the storage issue that we have at the hall as well. So there's been some questions about the storage. So maybe we need to hire a planner or a designer to design the area so that we can work towards that. Maybe need I'm not sure who does that. Some type of planner that could taking all this information into account. I guess that's what the strategic plan is supposed to be, right? But take all this information into account and look at our best way moving forward with the plan. I don't know if we're the designers or not, and we're supposed to be doing it, but You
That
talked
might be a
about
good idea. If we try to do it ourselves, we're not gonna do it, right? So.
Hmm.
We don't have that skill in-house. Maybe Shane does, but I don't know if he has the time to do something like that for us. Okay, so I think we've covered all the points on here. Did we get through them all, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay.
So actually, I have one more question, sorry.
Okay.
So just to confirm, so this is going into the strategic plan that we're developing a recreation facility plan.
That's my idea. Is everybody in agreement to that? I see Sandy shaking. Yeah, everybody's shaking. Well, Dan. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's shaking. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's in agreement.
Thank you. And the plan will be the 3 to 5 years, similar to the rest of the project?
Yeah, we developed a plan within 3 to 5 years, but that doesn't mean that all this work will be done in 5 years, right? So,
Just the plan.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm thinking that's everything there. Now, so we go back to item 6 where we still are, right? And the B, directives to staff, next steps. What would that be? Cindy, we've already given you that? Yes? Okay. So we have a resolution I need a mover and a seconder for. Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
I can.
And Councillor Maxwell, can you second it, please?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a resolution moved by Councillor Shipman, second by Councillor Maxwell, that the next meeting for the development of the municipality of Calvin's strategic plan will be held on October the 5th, 2021, as a special meeting of council, and the directives to the clerk treasurer to finalize the list of strategic initiatives as per the discussion this evening for the next meeting. As per the strategic planning workbook, the October 5th, 2021 meeting, a draft of the strategic plan will be brought to council. Everybody, any discussion on that? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Taking a call for a vote. Are we in agreement to next meeting on October the 5th that the clerk treasurer brings back a draft of our strategic plan? Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Next item on our agenda is number 7, information letters, and there are none. Next item is number 8, information letters available, none. 9, old and new business, none. And 10, accounts approval report, none. Closed portion, none. 12 is business arising from closed portion, there are none. And 13, there are no notice of motions. And 14 is adjournment. So we should have a resolution to adjourn the meeting tonight. I'll need a mover and a seconder for that as well. Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Olmsted, can you second it, please?
Yes.
So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Olmsted, that this special meeting of the council now be adjourned at 9:48 p.m. Any discussion? Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay, I'm gonna vote on, closing the meeting now. Counselor Croft, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Counselor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Counselor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Counselor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. So that's it for tonight, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Good meeting, good discussion.
Good discussion. Good night.
Right.
Night.
Bye-bye.
All right.